everyone, we're here at Central Printers and we're going to be talking to someone that works at Central Printers today on laser printing. So come on in and we'll have a chat with them. Hi everyone, I'm sitting here with Teresa, a friend of mine from Central Printers in downtown Sudbury, and we had a couple of questions for her for the laser printing process. So let's move on. Teresa, in terms of laser printing quantity, what would be the threshold of when you would recommend a client to switch from laser printing to offset lithography or vice versa?
We have found that in doing the two, that it usually on a regular 8.5 by 11, let's paste it on that size, that around the 500 mark quantity, it does become more cost effective to do it on the press.
Okay.
And that's pretty much just clear right at that breaking point. So anything that would come in and somebody wanted something for 1,000, we would automatically put it on the press.
Okay, so 500 would more or less be the rule of thumb,
Yeah,
per se.
yeah. And then so, if somebody was looking for something at 500, then we would look at timeline. If they need it tomorrow, it may be very, better idea to put it on the laser. Whereas if they have a little bit of time, it would still be more cost effective, likely on the press.
Okay. Why doesn't laser printing costs reduce when we do end up printing in bulk? Let's say if we wanted to print 1,000, but specifically on a laser printer because we need it in a hurry. Why is it still as expensive as if we were going to print it a 500 quantity job?
Okay, most digital printers or laser printers, they're all based on a laser technology. They have a certain lifespan, and the lifespan is not the same as a press. Press can do millions and millions and millions of copies. The components are much different than on a laser. So the life of these lasers, it's like a car, really. So it's measured in what you would call like an odometer, I guess.
Okay.
So every time you print something, takes a little bit of a lifespan off of that unit. So
almost like wear and tear. I guess.
Exactly. So you have to pay for that every time you do a print.
Okay.
So that's why every time you take a little bit of toner, you take a little bit of the fuser unit, a little bit of the belt, all of that is taken into consideration. So there's a cost for that. Whereas if you're looking at a press, these components are made to do this kind of high-end, high volume. So what you're paying for in that is really the pressman to set it up, to get to where the inks look properly in tune with what the person's looking for. So then really once it's set up, your cost is really just paper going through the press. And time for your pressman to watch it and make sure that it stays at that level that it's necessary. So it is it's a different process entirely. But that being said, is probably the easiest way to look at it. Is it's on a laser is like an odometer.
Okay.
So it needs to, and eventually it'll die much quicker than a press.
Right.
So in order to keep it up and keep it looking at the quality that you need, you have to keep replacing parts.
Right.
In it. So that's where your cost is really.
Okay, makes sense. Also, in terms of setup time for a print job, how long does it actually take to prepare let's say a file that you get from a client for printing on laser printing as opposed to offset or another?
And it is a PDF, let's say that it's
let's say
all
it's
ready
PDF.
to go.
Yeah.
And oftentimes you run into less difficulties with that because your process is entirely different. As you know, when you go to an offset, you need to separate your file into the 4 process colors.
Right.
So that because it's going to be done with plates. So that doesn't happen on a laser. It's all done at the same time, so you're not looking at the different plates. So it can sometimes be forgiving because you just You basically open it up, you can send it right from your Acrobat, Adobe Acrobat, or you can, place it into a program like InDesign, and you can manipulate it a little bit better out of those programs. But you're basically sending it directly to a printer as you would with any other printer. So it's direct. Whereas the other is much more involved. You have to make sure that it does separate properly into the 4 process colors before you can actually send it off to what we call plates and get the plates done. And then, of course, then it has to go on the press. So there's a lot more involved.
Right.
A lot more involved, yeah.
Okay.